What's up, buddy? How you doing? Are you all excited for Phase 5 of the Marvel Universe? Well, if you are, I've got bad news for you, because it is off to a rocky start. As we can see here on Rotten Tomatoes, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the first installment in Phase 5 of the Marvel experience, currently has a 58% Rotten Tomatoes score. The critics did not love this movie, and guys, I'm one of those critics. I don't know how I did it. Somehow I managed to sneak into Ant-Man without Disney knowing, because Disney doesn't want me going to their movies. But I snuck in, I got my bag of popcorn, I got my big dumb drink, and I sat and I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And here's how I felt. It's interesting, because as I was watching the movie, I was fairly optimistic. I was like, this is pretty funny. It's got some good jokes. It's got some solid action, good CG. I like the whole idea of the quantum realm, this microscopic world beneath worlds, and I think they actually did some very good jobs with the visuals there, making it look interesting and unique. But ultimately, I came out of the movie, and I felt hollow inside. I felt empty. I felt like I had just watched, like, a really just bare bones kind of kids movie. Which again, if you're a kid, it's going to be entertaining and fun and exciting, but there was no weight to it. There's no emotional weight. There's no, human drama, anything like that. It was just kind of like, let's go on an adventure to the quantum realm. Ooh, they're going to be in trouble. Oh, but now they're okay. It felt very simplistic. And I think the problem Marvel is running into is that they're trying to do two things. They're trying to keep making these PG-13 movies, which are friendly for kids and families, but they also then they want to get the adult crowd, and they want to introduce darker themes or more weighty human elements. And sometimes I feel like they don't find the right mix. And Ant-Man, ultimately, I have to say, was probably the wrong character to kick off Phase 5. This is supposed to be the new dark chapter. We're meeting Kang the Conqueror, this new villain who has his shadow looming over the entire Marvel Universe, kicking it off with Ant-Man, who's just like, I'm goofy and fun and blah, nothing bothers me, was probably the wrong way to get us into I don't fear Kang after seeing him in the Ant-Man movie. I go, well, if he's Ant-Man's villain, who cares? They really didn't sell it. That's one interesting thing from the critics, that they're all saying they loved Jonathan Majors as Kang. I thought he fell flat. I mean, he's a great actor, and I liked his performance, but I'm not being sold on Kang as a villain. We're going to talk about all of this real quick. Hit that subscribe button, and let's try to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I will do my best to avoid spoilers, but we are going to cover kind of the basic plot and what's going on. So the basic plot is, this is after Endgame, the big fight with Thanos, and Paul Rudd, a.k.a. Scott Lang, Ant-Man, whatever you want to call him, he is a minor celebrity. I don't know exactly how big a celebrity he is, but he's got a book out. He's doing book signings. We see a lot of kids in Ant-Man costumes come to his signings. So it seems like he's kind of just become like a friendly, neighbor, or friendly, heroic guy doing the talk show circuit or whatever. And he's happy with that. He's not running around risking his life. And that's actually something his daughter, Cassie, chides him for, essentially saying, Dad, you were an Avenger, you saved the world, now you just sit around and promote your stupid book, you should be out there helping people. I had to say, to Cassie, I'm like, listen, man, he did save the whole world. I think he has the right to sit around and chill his book for a little bit of time. He put his life on the line, traveling through time and whatever else. I don't think he's always got to be out there saving the world. But she's kind of a, little liberal hippie activist now. She talks about going to the park and, stopping the cops from shutting down homeless encampments. And it turns out that her grandfather, Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, and of course, Hope, her, what would you call her, kind of stepmother type, have actually assisted in giving her own Ant-Man suit, learning how to control it, learning how to control the powers. And a lot of the movie is really focused on Cassie. I kind of feel like Marvel's maybe trying to set her up to be her own hero, maybe appear in some sort of spin-off thing somewhere. Unfortunately, this trailer does not show Cassie very much, which is weird because she was actually a big part of the movie. Now, okay, so everybody's living their best life. Scott has the book deal. What do you call it? Hope is running the company, Pym Enterprises or whatever it is, and they're using miniaturization technology to save the world. And in the midst of all this, they are experimenting with this quantum. What do they call it? They call it like a compass, where they're using it to map out the quantum realm. They're sending signals down, I assume pinging it off of things, and then using that to map out the quantum realm. Now, what's her name? Janet, the original Wasp, who lived in the quantum realm for 30 years, was trapped down there. Basically tells them, shut that dang thing off right now. You've probably seen it in the trailers. Let's see if we can take a look real quick. Where she goes, what do you mean you're sending a signal down there? That means they know. There's Cassie getting pulled in, and everybody gets pulled into the quantum realm. So this is actually probably the most interesting part of the story, is talking about Janet's entire backstory. So what we find out, and I'll try to avoid spoilers as much as possible, is essentially that Kang is Overlord down there. He is currently like the emperor of the quantum realm. And Janet, for 30 years, basically worked with resistance fighters to try and take him down and destroy his power and whatever else. And ultimately, she failed and almost kind of abandoned her former comrades. When they pulled her out, she was like, you know what? I don't even want to think about the quantum realm ever again. And it's kind of interesting that she has that kind of guilt of, this is partially my fault. We learned she has a backstory with Kang. I won't delve into it because, again, spoilers. But it's her coming back to a place that she's been. The other two, they get split into two groups. It's Ant-Man and his daughter in one group, and then it is Janet Van Dyne, Hope, and Hank Pym on another group. And as she's leading them around, they're like, what the hell is this? Why do you know what this is? And at first she's very reluctant to tell them, but slowly the story comes out of how she knew Kang, their relationship, and what a horrible interdimensional threat Kang the Conqueror is. So, the ultimate goal is for them to get back to their world. Unfortunately, Kang himself is also trying to get back to their world, and he wants to use Scott Lang to help repair his it's a convoluted thing where he needs their miniaturization technology to fix his ship and escape from the quantum realm. That's your basic story. I don't want to get too deep into any of it. I don't want there to be any spoilers, but basically everybody's trying to get out of the quantum realm. So, what do we think about this? Well, I'll tell you, it's fun. It's fun to watch them running around. They're meeting the denizens of the quantum realm, who are a bunch of weirdo aliens and telepaths and whatever else. Again, we can see there's great set design, great world building, all of that. The problem is that there is no real interesting conflict whatsoever. The only conflict that kind of arises is this deal between Kang and Scott, where he goes, if you want me, he imprisons him and his daughter, and he says, if you want your daughter to live, go get this thing for me to repair my ship. And Scott, obviously agrees because he's the ultimate family man. It's his only defining character trait is that he'll do anything for his family. But there's no real conflict there. I'm trying to think if conflict ever arises. There's no point at which Scott's resolve is challenged, It would be one thing if it was him wrestling with, maybe I would sacrifice my daughter, because the idea is if Kang escapes from the quantum realm, he will end countless worlds and trillions will die. Well, that's interesting. Maybe are you willing to sacrifice your daughter to save trillions of people? Is there a compromise there? But the movie doesn't really get into any of that. It's just kind of, Scott's, a good guy. He's the ultimate good guy. He never wrestles with any tough decisions. He just always does what the correct thing is in any possible situation. And the movie even goes so far as to say, oh, the reason I can do this is because I love my daughter so much. It's cheesy. Again, it's a very cheesy kids movie. And it's disappointing because the world concept and everything else is so interesting. I actually loved Hank Pym showing off, finally showing off the power of ants and getting back to his old heroic ways. He really gets to shine in this movie, which was fantastic. Both him and Janet were fantastic characters. In a way, I kind of wish Ant-Man had stayed behind in the real world and it had focused on the original Ant-Man, because I found their story far more interesting, that she was gone for 30 years. He hasn't been a hero for, in that amount of time either, that he comes back to, learning how to fight again or whatever. All of that was way more interesting than Scott saving his daughter, because obviously that's what he's going to do. The movie was just too obvious. They also meet like a resistance group. And this is another problem I'm having with Marvel movies, is we're 3 Ant-Man movies deep. So there's really nothing left. There's nothing left to do with Scott's character arc unless you're going to do something drastic, unless you're going to suddenly have him turn evil or, make a bad decision or whatever else. But he's had 2 movies to do that already, and he hasn't done it already. So it's predictable. We know Ant-Man's a good guy. He's always going to do the right thing. So what I want these Marvel movies to do, because that's the same for other movies as well. I mean, is Thor gonna, catch us off guard? We know these characters too deeply now. Why are they not introducing secondary characters and kind of focusing the plot around them? I mean, you had Cassie, who I guess was supposed to be this movie's new character, who, she's a wild card, who knows what she's gonna do, but she's just like her dad. She just does the right thing at any point. She helps the resistance fighters. There was really no conflict in this movie whatsoever. Now, I guess the big hook for this movie is introducing Kang. I mean, we've seen him in Loki already, but this was supposed to be the movie that really kind of digs into his backstory, who he is, what he wants, and I want to say they kind of failed. I didn't get anything out of this. I can't spoil it, but ultimately everything you learn about Kang is kind of retconned anyway. I won't get into the specifics there. I don't want to spoil it, but ultimately, I don't find him that interesting. Thanos was an interesting villain because he was ruthless, we saw his power, and we knew his ideology. And his ideology was, a lot of people say it's silly, I want to split the world in half, whatever else. But at least there was something there that you understood, okay, he's a weird, tormented moron. He wants to set the world straight, and he thinks the best way to do that is to kill a bunch of people. At least I kind of understand what he's trying to do. Kang, I'll say he keeps going on and on about timelines and fixing timelines, and there's too many timelines. But at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, well, so what does he want? Tell me more about this guy. All he does is brood and look sad. I mean, he's kind of a character. He seems tormented about something, but we're not getting any specifics about this guy. And ultimately, I don't find him intimidating. There is a scene where we get to see, okay, when he has powers, he can, zap people into dust, and, he's a very powerful fighter. But, and I mean, this is a spoiler, but I have to say it, Ant-Man, when he doesn't have his powers and his super suit is like out of juice, Ant-Man is basically able to go toe-to-toe with him. So I go, well, what's the hook of this guy? He's just a guy who has powers if he has access to his suit and his magic. I'm not intimidated by him, and he's also not ruthless enough. I mean, if you really showed this guy ending worlds and killing trillions, but they kind of gloss over it, like they were afraid to show what he's capable of. This movie does have a mid-credit scene which elaborates further on what to expect from Kang in future movies, but I'll say this, I thought it looked stupid as hell. I don't know who was excited by that mid-credit scene. It's like, oh, look at Kang, he's so powerful, blah, 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 and I was like, this just looks dumb. I feel like they dropped the ball. I'm not afraid of this guy. He looks like an idiot, and they need to raise the stakes. That's the other thing. If you want me to fear Kang, you have to show him doing something. Have him kill somebody. Honestly, and I know that maybe this will sound crazy, I would have killed Ant-Man in this movie. That's a spoiler that they don't kill Ant-Man. Obviously, Ant-Man survives. But can you imagine if Ant-Man 3 had ended with Kang just killing Ant-Man? Or, I don't know, taking him captive or something. They needed to do something like drastic to say Kang is a threat, and they didn't do that. They also need, and this was something I was talking about on Twitter, they need to establish a primary rival for Kang. I would say that in the original Avengers, movies, Iron Man's relationship with Thanos was what made Thanos scary. That Iron Man was genuinely terrified of Thanos, and he was kind of the primary guy who the audience was supposed to relate with, where he goes, Thanos is coming, he was having panic attacks, he's like, he's going to end our worlds, and he was devoted to taking down Thanos. If you look back at that trilogy, it really wasn't the Avengers versus Thanos, it was primarily Tony Stark versus Thanos, with the help of all his buddies. And we don't have that right now. We need a character who's really going to be the focal point of this phase and has a personal vendetta against Kang. Again, you could have made an Ant-Man. Like, if Kang had killed his daughter or killed Hope, and now we have this personal vendetta against this guy, I feel like the conflict would be that much more exciting. But as of now, Kang is just a guy who kills a bunch of people we've never seen before. We're not afraid of him. We have no relationship to him. I will say this. There's a little bit of spoiler. This is a minor spoiler, but let's say Loki gets brought up in this movie. And as I was thinking about it, I saw, you know, who should really be the focus of Phase 5 is Loki. Loki is the first person to encounter Kang. He's traveling around the multiverse, so he knows what the multiverse is, and he knows what Kang is capable of. I think if they made Loki the focus and made him the primary, rival to Kang and reformed him into a good guy, I think that would be fantastic. But then you're like, well, what do the other guys do? What does Thor do? What do the Thunderbolts do? I don't know how they're going to wrap this all together. But ultimately, yeah, this movie, look, it's fine. It's fun. It's got fun action. It's got fun locations. But in terms of like any emotional impact or any weight or gravitas, in terms of getting you excited, like, oh my God, I can't wait to see more of Phase 5, it doesn't do that because it doesn't build up anything. It feels like another filler movie. With Doctor Strange and the Multiverses of Madness, we thought, oh, this is going to establish the multiverse. It was a filler movie. With Wanda, we thought, WandaVision, we thought, oh, this will, establish what's going on in the Dark Realm. And the way all of this has been filler. And this feels like more Marvel filler. When are you going to give us something that tells us what we're excited for? What is the big narrative push? All you told us is Kang's the bad guy. Okay, but why? Make him scary. Have him do something. You're wasting my time. I don't know. I mean, look, I would say if I had to score this movie, if I was bringing a kid to this movie, absolutely 9 out of 10. I think little kids are going to love this movie. But if you're like an adult or a teenager, whatever, somebody who's looking for something a little more with meat on its bones, you just don't get it here. There's nothing here. It's just, I'm Ant-Man. I protect my family. Ooh, I hope we escape from the Magic Underground world. It was a disappointment, to say the least. But guys, I don't know. Have you seen Ant-Man yet? I believe it comes out Friday, so you probably haven't seen it. But were you excited for it? I mean, what do you think Marvel's doing right now? I don't know what to get excited for. It feels like there should be this grand, exciting plan, and really all they have is Kang. And he's not interesting. I don't get it. And I don't get all the critics who go, oh, Jonathan Majors, what an incredible actor. Yeah, I guess, but they didn't do anything with him. It didn't do anything for me. I don't know what they're doing. I thought this was a disappointment. But let me know what you think. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Hit that button. Go read some reviews. Make up your own mind. Again, your kids are going to love it if you got kids who, just want to see a fun, stupid Spy Kids type adventure. But I think Marvel is just, they don't know what to do. They seem lost. And somebody needs to step in there and tell them, listen, you got to challenge the viewer a little bit. You got to start killing off some characters. You got to start breaking some bones. You can't just do this PG family-friendly thing because it's not interesting. That's the biggest problem.